With players reporting to camp, let's take a look at the Giants' offensive line in 2020. I'm John Schmelk, joined by Lance Meadow. Lance, let's take a look at the guards first, because that's really where I think most people are fairly firm in who the two starters are going to be. 30-year player Will Hernandez and longtime veteran and excellent player Kevin Zeitler.
Yeah, Zeitler they brought over last season, John, via trade, and he proved to be a staple on the right side of the offensive line. He was right next to Mike Remmers, who has since moved on to the Kansas City Chiefs in free agency. But Zeitler's been such a durable veteran presence over the course of his career, and that was a beautiful addition to this Giants offensive line. And Hernandez, it's more of him continuing to develop entering 2020. This is going to be his third year, as you referenced. Normally, the third year tends to be the breakout year for most players at various positions. But to me, it's going to be the key, and we're going to get into this. Who's he going to play next to at that left tackle spot? I think that's going to dictate a lot in terms of where his ceiling will be in 2020.
Yeah, let's go to center next, Lance, because the two backups at guard, draft pick Shane Lemieux and undrafted free agent Nick Gates from 3 years ago, are probably going to be the two backup guards. But those two players will also be competing for the starting center spot with veteran Spencer Pulley, who started games for the Giants at center last year, and he started a lot of games for the Giants 2 seasons ago. So break down that battle for that starting offensive center spot.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting because, as you mentioned, Pulley brings the most experience to that position to the table. Even before he came to the Giants, John, remember, he was the every game starter for the Chargers before the Giants claimed him off of waivers. And 2 years ago, when Jalapeno went down in week 2 with a leg injury, Pulley eventually took over as the starting center. Last year, Jalapeno was much more healthy, so therefore he slowly served as that multiple faceted offensive lineman that they could plug in just about anywhere. But he, to me, is in the driver's seat. Shane Lemieux, who you mentioned was the 5th-round pick, he played guard his entire career at Oregon. We actually spoke to Mario Cristobal, but he mentioned they prepared him during practice at that center position. So he's certainly an option there. And then, as you mentioned, Nick Gates, Mr. Versatility. John, he's played all 5 positions. He was at right tackle last year. They could certainly toy with him at that position. But I think when it comes down to it, Pulley is the man to start. And then it's a matter of whether or not these other two guys can prove in limited opportunities in practice that they could perhaps handle the load. Here's one other thing, John, that I want to point out. Pulley was the second center on the second team. So he worked with Daniel Jones, remember, before Daniel Jones took over the starting job from Eli Manning. So there's a little bit more chemistry also between DJ and Pulley versus the other two.
Yeah, Nick Gates really has not played center before, Lance. They talked about him perhaps trying out there at some point last year, so he'll have an opportunity this summer. And John Jalapeno still has not been re-signed. Remember, he tore his Achilles at the very end of last season, still a free agent as at the time of this recording. Now, we mentioned Nick Gates. He will also have a chance to compete at tackle, where all of a sudden there is a change. Nate Solder deciding to opt out of the 2020 season, understandably for health reasons. We all wish Nate the best and hope he and his family stay healthy. But he was a veteran that's been here a long time, who was an incumbent starter. So now Nick Gates is in the mix at offensive tackle with a couple of really young players. 4th overall pick, Andrew Thomas out of Georgia. 3rd-round pick, Matt Parrott out of UConn. And then you have Cameron Fleming, a veteran swing tackle that was brought over from Dallas. So it'll be a 4-way competition here, Lance, and may the best man win.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important to note, John, it's really a 4-way competition, but for 3 spots, because you brought up that term swing tackle. And that should be something that we shouldn't overlook, because the swing tackle is critical to the offensive line. We've seen it in years past with respect to the Giants. But as you mentioned, it's a youth movement because they have options with players that have experience on both sides. Andrew Thomas played the right and the left side at Georgia. Matt Parrott started actually on the left side, moved to the right in the latter part of his career at UConn. And Cameron Fleming, not only has he been a swing tackle, but he's been a starter on the right side with New England, and he's been a starter on the left side in Dallas because he filled in for Tyron Smith each of the last 2 seasons. So the good news is, if you're the Giants coaching staff, specifically Mark Colombo, the O-line coach, John, you can mix and match all throughout practice because these guys are comfortable on either side. At the end of the day, I think they're going to look for the 5 best offensive linemen to put on the field, and that means it's about comfort and it's about who's ready. I don't think it's going to hurt the Giants, John, with this door opening with Nate Solder deciding to opt out to maybe treat Andrew Thomas like a baptism by fire situation. He's envisioned to be the long-term answer at left tackle. Well, John, I can't think of a better opportunity to start him there day one and let him get as much experience as humanly possible.
And that's a look at the Giants' offensive line. For Lance Meadow, I'm John Schmelk. Stay tuned to Giants.com as we get ready for training camp.